another wonderful, stupendous,
Spectacular.
spectacular. Fine, that's fine. Whatever. Episode.
Titastic.
Titastic. I mean, come on. You
Oh
gotta
wait,
roll with it.
Tide-tastic.
Yes.
Yes, I like that. Okay.
Work with me. Anyway,
Okay.
we're going to get started here in 15 seconds. Do you think they would be surprised to learn how many of those shots we use body doubles in and how many of them are just us?
Yes, they would, because those people look exactly like us. So
yeah, it's crazy.
Everybody would be like, "Are you serious?" Like, no, we had to reach out to some people in Hollywood to get those people on there. So
yeah. All right. Some programming, I guess, notes. Obviously, a lot of NFL stuff is going on. We will still be talking more college stuff tonight. A couple shows that we were both a part of. That Monday thing with Mr. U and Football Talk with Bo. And then the Wednesday wrap up tomorrow, we'll be covering that extensively. And then when some of that smoke is cleared, we'll probably talk about that a little bit more next week. But we always, we have a guest that we love, and we love to talk some Alabama stuff. So we're going to bring him on first, Rod. So I've got some things, though, need to tell you about him before we bring him on. Okay. He was recently kicked out of Alabama's practices for hitting the players too hard. Right.
Okay.
Yeah. Yep. He recently beat Mark Sears in a game of 1-on-1.
Okay. Now that's tough. That's tough.
Yeah, that's tough. He skunked LeBron when they played, but I didn't want to bring that up. So, but it was LeBron didn't even score. I'm not even sure he touched the ball. But anyway.
Next.
Yeah. And when Saban goes into the Hall of Fame, he will be the person that introduces him.
Inducting him,
yes, sir. Welcome into Bama Beat. How are we doing tonight, sir?
Yes.
I'm good, guys. How are y'all?
I feel like these intros.
We hope you like the intro. More absurd.
You're supposed to say that some of them happened, or a possibility of them happening.
I'm not that big time, man.
Oh, you are to us, though, man. You are.
We're getting there. We're getting there. Yeah.
Randy, good evening to you, sir. I don't know if y'all still follow him online, see his posts. Randy's been having a tough week. I won't go into specifics, but definitely, man, thoughts and prayers go out to him and his family and what they're going through, man. Randy, we love you, man, and happy to see you here tonight still.
Yes.
Kat, and even I hope she's feeling better. Glad to have her back. The Alpha, one of our biggest supporters. And then
good evening, everybody.
Mike, the man behind Big Mike is basically what makes us go. And if you think it's bad now, you would see how bad it is without Mike. So, all right, before off air, you were telling us you're just coming back from vacation and you made a rookie mistake. So first off, how was the vacation? We'll start there. How was the vacation?
It was wonderful. I spent a few days out in Lake Tahoe, snowboarding trip. Got back on Sunday and made the mistake of not taking off Monday for recovery day. So start of the week's been on the struggle bus the start of this week.
Yeah.
You got
the two worst days are the last day before vacation and the first day back are like the least productive work days ever.
Well, Monday's
because everybody wants to
throw a vacation on top of it.
Yeah. They want a lot of work out of you, a lot of production, and then they'll ask you for how was your vacation? Okay, good. So we need to do blah blah blah.
And your mind is still out there snowboarding or whatever.
Yeah,
so that's the problem. So we had some. So we were just going to kind of generally talk about where the Tide was. So we'll go with some overall, and then maybe we'll go into some position groups, maybe to break it down. Do you feel a little bit better now that, like, I don't know, it feels like things have settled? Maybe you'll get at least a month, I guess, of maybe some normalcy before like the next window. How do you feel? Like, where are your general feelings about the Tide right now?
Feeling pretty good. It's exciting to get spring practice started. After 17 years of Coach Saban, it's still a little strange to see a new coach out there leading practice, but it's exciting too. We're all sad to see Coach Saban go, and he'd surely be missed, but there is something exciting about a new regime, new ways of doing things. I think there's a lot of excitement around the program with the players and some of the coaches Kalen DeBoer brought in. I feel like the fans are kind of in that sense of excitement that the players and coaches are right now, and it's all going to be leading up to A-Day. So, I think first week of spring practice sounds like it went pretty well last week. They're off this week on spring break, but when they get back is really when install will start more heavily, and they'll start installing Kalen DeBoer schemes.
Looking forward to that. Looking forward to A-Day.
Me
Ooh,
too.
should I put him on the spot early, or should I give him some time before we break in? Raj is top 5, but we're going to throw it at you. What are the top 5 things you're looking forward to in the A-Day game? Raj already had to answer this one once. So what are you looking forward to?
So I'd say number one is the progression of Jalen Milroe, and really
is that not the biggest question of Alabama's offseason?
I feel like he has a high ceiling, but it's just the question is, are we going to be able to see him hit that ceiling or get close to it this fall?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, he's going to have to take a step forward, and I think he can make that step. But the job's not going to be handed to him. I think he showed a lot of leadership during this transition. I think he's done a lot of things that the new coaches appreciate, but he's still going to have to perform on the field. I've got a feeling he's going to answer the call. Honestly, I've been, I'm pretty straightforward with my takes on here, and I've been critical of Milroe in the past, but I just got a feeling right now that he's going to do what needs to be done, and he's going to take a big step from year 1 to year 2, in my opinion. I mean, most quarterbacks do. The game slows down immensely from year 1 to year 2. Now, he's trying to learn a new scheme that might hinder him a little bit, but I still expect him to make that jump.
Yeah, I think and you say a key thing there. I think people think that he's been like a 3-year starter and we're expecting different from him. And you're like, this is actually year 2. And I don't know, his 3rd different scheme possibly. So I feel like people, the evaluation is, am I totally off, or I just don't feel like the evaluation has been correct for Milroe for most of his short career.
I mean, I think a lot of that's the quarterbacks Alabama's had for the last 5 or 6 years. It's other than Mac Jones, it was a bunch of guys that were ready to step in right away.
Right.
So you kind of get used to those guys being ready earlier in their careers. And, Milroe is more of a developmental guy. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just a different situation.
Okay. Milroe's number 1. And that was on Rogers' list as well. Milroe being number 1. What else you got?
So number 2 would probably be the offensive tackle position. I feel pretty good with the interior offensive line. You got a battle between James Brockermeyer and Parker Brailsford at center. Brailsford being the Washington transfer. I expect him to end up winning that job, but I've heard some good things about Brockermeyer early. Just the speed that he's picked up the offense.
Can I say something with that one? Is that a little bit of surprise considering I guess he was like the lesser, I guess, of the Brockermeyer brothers sticking around?
It was him and Tommy, right?
I always thought James was a good prospect, but he was going to be a guy that took a little while. And frankly, Tommy was going to be a guy that was going to take a little while, even though he was the more heralded guy. So it's a little bit of a surprise to me, but, it's exciting because maybe Alabama has 2 good options at center this year. That would certainly help solidify that position. You got 2 returning starters at guard, Jaden Roberts and Tyler Booker. So you feel pretty good about those 3 inside spots, but those 2 tackle positions is the ones you're going to be watching as huge question marks. Elijah Pritchett's a guy that stuck around to start spring. I think this offense fits him a little better probably than the old offense did. He's a little slider frame, quicker feet. So we'll see how he progresses, and, heard some good things about the young tackle Wilkin Fonby. So, Alabama, that's a big question mark on Alabama's offense. Probably the biggest question mark, in my opinion, those 2 tackle positions.
Okay. What's number 3?
I'll go to the defense side of the ball. I think it's cornerback. Finding 2 corners that you can rely on. I think they've got some good young talent there. With Zay Mincy, Jalen Mbakwe. There's a few others they brought in this past class. You got the transfer Damani Jackson. Certainly think he could contribute at that spot. You got Jaleel Hurley, who's been around a year or 2. So you got a lot of options there, but you're going to have to settle on two that you feel good about. Malachi Moore, he's probably going to end up in some kind of hybrid role.
Right.
So you got to find your two boundary corners. I feel pretty good about the safety spot, especially with the addition of Keon Sabb from Michigan. You got Devontae Smith back. Malachi Moore can play safety if need be, but those two corner spots are a question mark.
So with Sabb, I had a question about him. Raj asked me about him, when we first picked him up. I remember when he went into the portal, it just didn't seem like anybody said anything. Were we just kind of sleeping on him, or was that just kind of always a target, or is it just like normal? I just didn't know what I was talking about.
I think Sabb was headed to Alabama before he entered the portal. Just from everything I've heard, that may have been why that one was a little quiet. I think he kind of knew where he wanted to go when he entered. I think he's a really good player. He played really well for Michigan in that national title game. So it's really exciting to bring. First of all, it's exciting to see Kalen DeBoer can bring in players like that.
Right.
Second of all, it's exciting to bring another veteran presence to a secondary that's going to be super young.
Yeah. And here's
I think that's the thing that I like most
already.
Go
ahead, Russ.
Yeah, that's the thing I like most about Sabb was like not even production wise, but the fact that he just played, on a 15-0 national championship team, and he's going to bring the experience to our secondary. So that's what I liked about him the most.
Okay. What was that? Is that 3? We got quarterback, tackles, cornerback.
Cornerback.
And what do you think about that combination, Damani Jackson and Mbakwe at corner? Or what's the chances of that happening?
I feel like Damani Jackson's going to be one of those guys. I don't think he received great coaching at USC, which has probably hindered his development a little bit, but he does have experience. It's hard to say with those young guys. I mean, Mbakwe is extremely talented, and I appreciate everything he did with Alabama's recruiting class. In the last few months, keeping that together as we went through a transition. But it's just about how quick do they pick up the scheme? How ready is he? I mean, they've got a lot of young freshman DBs, and all of them could potentially contribute. So it's kind of to be honest, a crapshoot on which one steps up.
Mm-hmm. Corner. So that's number 3. What else are you looking for?
I want to see the wide receiver position. Hearing some really good things about some of Alabama's young receivers that have stepped up. They brought in the Washington transfer, Jeremy Bernard.
No.
So
the Germinator.
Germinator, yeah.
We have coined him the Germinator. Yes.
Yeah, I think I was watching one of y'all shows. That's all y'all give him that nickname. That's pretty nice.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to see him. Jalen Hale as a young guy, we got to see a little bit of last year. Kobe Prentice is a guy that has been around a while. You've got the tight end, forgetting his last name, Caleb Odom. 6'5", 215, 220 that has moved to wide receiver, and I've heard a lot of buzz about him early in spring practice. So I'm excited to see him. I'm just excited to see how that group comes together as a whole. Kalen DeBoer played wide receiver in college. Just watching some of the practice videos, it seems like he spends a lot of time with those wide receivers. So really excited to see how they blossom. And I think, with this system, this new system that Kalen DeBoer runs, you can't really hide your quarterback and your wide receivers.
Right.
And that's, not that Alabama's not going to run the ball, but offense is probably going to be built around those two positions. So it's going to be, a lot different from last year where, Alabama could kind of get by there with, just some, decent production. I think they're going to need to step up, both positions.
Are you over the Niblack betrayal? Like, are you at peace with this? Do you guys still talk? Like, how is that?
I told you last time, man. He's dead.
He's dead to you, yeah. And halfway through that, I was like, oh no, he commented on that. My bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I wish him well at Texas. I don't hold any ill feelings. And I really don't hold any ill feelings with any of the guys that transferred. I think NIL had more to do with some than others. But a lot of those guys came to play for Coach Saban, and he's not here anymore. If that's why you came to Alabama, then you need to move on because Alabama needs guys that believe in this new coaching staff and want to play for Alabama.
Yeah, I agree. What's the last one? What's the last thing we're looking at?
Yeah, I think I just want to see the scheme changes overall, the impact of the new coaches. We spent a lot of time talking about offense, but Kane Womack's defense. I'm excited to see that. It's not as different from Alabama's defense under Saban as people think. It's very similar to Nick Saban's nickel defense. So I don't know that it's going to look that different, but I do think it's going to be a little bit different philosophy. Probably more aggressive than what we've seen under Saban as a whole. Saban tended to not be super aggressive, being a secondary guy. He wanted to protect his DBs. Right. I think we'll see a little bit more of an aggressive approach under Kane Womack, but I'm excited to see what he brings on that side of the ball. Really excited about that hire. I mean, when you bring in an offensive guy, Alabama's typically hired defensive coaches. You want somebody that can completely manage that side of the ball, and him being a former head coach, a former DC, I just feel like it's a perfect fit, having worked with Kalen DeBoer before as well.
Yeah. Is that not an unusual situation where you've got, I mean, I guess Chip Kelly also did it, so it's not so, but head coaches leaving to become coordinators? I mean, is that not a little crazy, or am I just a little too excited about it?
Well, we had a few guys like that. Kane Womack, left South Alabama to be a head coach. Mo Linguist left the Buffalo head coaching job to be, cornerback coach here. Jeff Hafley, the Boston College coach, left to be the Green Bay Packers DC. So it's something we're seeing more and more. And I think it goes back to a conversation we had about a year or two ago about, college coaching becoming unattractive. I know those guys are making moves from, college head jobs to college position jobs, but I think it's similar to, guys that are moved to NFL because, as a head coach, you're responsible for everything that goes on in the program. As a position coach, you can just coach your position and recruit. You don't have to worry about, managing NIL, managing boosters, a lot of the stuff that comes with the current state of college football.
Just say hello to a Texas fan in the room.
Appreciate you for joining in. Question right quick. I know you just spoke highly of the 4-2-5 defense. Is there anything about the 4-2-5 scheme that makes you uneasy or any cons possibly of the 4-2-5?
Probably the run defense.
Okay.
Just because it is, you can be really aggressive with your stunts up front. You've got 5 DBs on the field. Just 2 guys at that second level. Potentially, you could get in a situation where your run defense is not as stout as you'd like. But there's ways around that, and every DC has a different way of going about that.
All right, before we kind of go, we'll kind of go, I guess, a little position by position real quick. But I did want to throw this one out first. I was trying to juggle which order I wanted to go in. Who is your Amari Niblack now? Like, who is that guy that maybe we're not paying attention to, but you're thinking this is a guy maybe low under the radar who's going to break out this year, or we might see some good things from, we'll be surprised with? Who's really the guy that we can send you messages every time they do something good, so we can tell you that you're the one that
Bama Beat guy.
Yeah.
Really excited about Keon Keeley on the defensive side of the ball. He's moved to the defensive line. I think that's where he needs to be, especially in this scheme. I think we need to have him rushing the passer as much as possible. It's going to be an adjustment for him. He's been playing outside linebacker for the last year or two. So that's going to be an adjustment. But I think he's just so explosive. He's got all the measurables you could want. I think he's a guy that it may not happen right at the beginning of the season, but as the season goes along, maybe we see him start to break out.
I think
Roger, you kind of mirror go ahead.
No, I think he kind of answered my next question. I was going to say, do you see Keon Keeley starting this fall? But you kind of answered that by saying, we'll see as the season progresses, he's going to get on the field more. So is that what you think, or do you think he's going to start right away?
Yeah, I'm not sure about starting right away. I think Alabama's defensive line depth is in much better position this year. So I'm not sure he'll start right away. I definitely think he can be a guy early on in the season in pass rush situations, put him out on the edge, but I'm not sure we see him starting right away.
I gotcha. Name that was thrown out to me by you saw Ricky in there. He got a roll tide earlier. He wanted to know specifically about Curtis Perry because he hadn't heard as many names, but heard him as much. What's something you can give us about him, a tidbit, or kind of what's going on with his situation?
Yeah, so the feedback, I haven't gotten much feedback on Curtis Perry since since Coach DeBoer arrived. I know it seemed like he was a little bit behind, under Coach Saban. But Curtis Perry's a lighter defensive lineman. He's got a high motor, but he's not a super big guy. He was a guy that came into college needing to gain weight. So this new scheme could potentially open up an opportunity for him just because you're playing 4 down linemen most of the time. And Alabama did that a lot, but at times they played with 3 down linemen running a 3-4. So you don't need as big a defensive lineman now. So potentially that opens an opportunity up for him. But just to be frank, I haven't heard much on him since practice started.
And that's what Ricky was very quick off the line. So that was one of his specific questions he wanted to ask for it. So let's just start, I guess, kind of at the top. Is a quarterback room as simple as Milroe, Simpson, Lonergan, Mack? Is it shake out like that? And is there still a chance that we lose one in this spring, portal window? Like what's going on there? Rod, you already said get ahead to yes too. So
I just have an eerie feeling that one of them will leave once this next portal opens up.
Yeah. I said before I thought it was surprising that both Simpson and Lonergan stayed. So I would not have been surprised to see one. And then when you bring Mack into the mix, it feels like that pushes one out. But what are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I'd bet on one leaving. We'll see. It's hard to predict, but I'd probably bet on one leaving. I think they've all got a chance to compete. I definitely, like I said before, have Milroe as the leader in the clubhouse. I think Austin Mack is a hell of a talent.
Right.
He's got all the tools. I still think he's probably a year away. Washington brought in Will Rogers prior to Coach DeBoer leaving. So I think he was expected to be the guy up there. So I think they anticipated that Austin Mack was probably a year or so away. So
Right.
I think probably the most likely transfer candidate is Ty Simpson or Dylan Lonergan, just because you got to feel like Mack's pretty committed to this staff. Milroe's probably in the driver's seat. So it's probably one of Simpson or Lonergan, which both, are great talents. Alabama's quarterback room is in really great position right now, in my opinion. So you hate to lose either one of them, but it's certainly understandable.
Yeah, I agree. If you are out there, we're taking your comments live. I think most of the people are commenting through YouTube or through Facebook. Also, if you have a chance, please like and subscribe. We're on our slow, steady push to 100 subscribers. So the 100 subscriber gets probably nothing. I mean, we're poor, but we will appreciate
thank you. We will give you a really, really big thank you.
Yes. Yeah. So no, that's about how the quarterback room, shook out. It's like I hate holding my breath after the game and thinking, okay, what happened here? What's gonna, what do we have, like another week or two, I guess, right after that until the portal window closes again. So that's just frustrating.
So
go ahead.
Yeah, so let's just say going into fall, week 1 against Western Kentucky, what would you say the quarterback depth chart would look like 1 through 3?
Will there even be a 3?
My guess. Well, I don't want to speculate on people transferring. So I'll say it's Milroe, and then second is Lonergan or Simpson, and third is Mack.
Yeah. I think what you said is I think Mack is the most likely one to stay and get himself another year.
He came here for a reason,
Yeah. So Ricky thinks Mack will make a strong push.
Yeah.
So. All right, so we're kind of thinking that Williams and the Germinator might be your top 2. Who is am I wrong? Is somebody else pushing those guys? And if we're right, who is your number 3 and possibly number 4 guys at that position?
You got a lot of options. Kobe Prentice is a guy who's got experience. I like Kobe Prentice. I think he makes plays when he's in the game. Really felt like Alabama could have used him a little bit more last year.
Right.
You got Jalen Hale flashed at times last
Mary.
year.
Yep.
Yeah, I think we all thought after that catch against Ole Miss that he was really going to break out.
Yeah.
And we didn't quite get there.
Okay, so to that point, is that more on Milroe in the passing game, or is it on the wide receivers, or is it a mix of both?
Probably a mix of both. But Milroe struggled to see the field a little bit last year. Felt like there were some opportunities missed. I specifically remember a crossing route by Kobe Prentice against Michigan that was wide open. That you just got to see if Milroe sees it earlier, it's a first down. Alabama gets points off the drive.
Right.
It's stuff like that where Milroe's got to take that next step. I think he can throw the ball. We have all seen the arm. He's got seeing the field and making decisions is where he's got to take the next step. And I think when he does that, that's going to help the wide receiver room.
Yep. So you've already got a Prentice vote and then a Jalen Hill vote. So that's why I thought. I mean, we talked about it on here and losing whatever that guy's name was. I forgot already. But the wide receiver room is still pretty full. There's a lot of talent there. So.
Yeah, I mean, you've got Emmanuel Henderson, Cole Adams. I mean, there's some guys we don't even talk about that are sitting there that are super talented.
Mm-hmm. Go ahead, Raj.
What was your thought, Raj?
No, but if you are the starting quarterback, do you kind of feel I hate to use the term pressure, but do you kind of feel pressured into kind of giving guys like Ryan Williams the ball? Because if they don't have a super productive year in year one, there's always the possibility that they can say, hey, I liked Alabama. Thank you, blah, blah, blah. Put the Instagram speech out there and then say, but I am going to enter the transfer portal.
The Instagram speech?
Is there a little, you know how they do on Instagram? I'm
laughing. I just,
blah, blah, blah. Yeah. So is there like some pressure there to kind of feed those young guys the ball so that they do stay here?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the reality of college football now. Now, if I'm a quarterback, I'm not approaching it that way because I don't think that's the right way to go about it on the field. You just got to execute the play that's called and do your job. You can't worry about giving certain guys the ball. That's when you get into mistakes and you force plays. But I think it's the same thing at the running back position. Any position that's production based, that's going to be an issue. With the way college football is now, if guys don't feel like they're getting enough opportunity, then they're going to move on. And that happened with a certain wide receiver that Herb referred to earlier. Won't speak his name. But that was exactly what happened.
Right. I get it. And Ricky's throwing out another name, Aaron Hampton.
Yeah, Aaron Hampton, super talented freshman. He can play on the defensive side of the ball if he wanted to. I think we'll see him on the offensive side of the ball. Seems to be really bought in. He's one of the first recruits that came out in support of the new coaching staff. So I'm excited to see him. I always hesitate to put too much, expectation on freshmen. Ryan Williams is a little bit of a unique case, just the kind of player he is. But certainly excited to see Aaron Hampton.
Mm-hmm. And didn't want to skip over this with Kat's post. It's interesting to me because we one of the text threads that we're in, I made the comment earlier because they already came out with an article about how Milroe might not be QB1 by the time the season starts. And I said I have no problem with him not being whether he wins a competition or not. I want the best person out there. My personal problem is seems to be a contingent of fans that are wanting him to fail so somebody else can step in. And that's what I seem to have a problem with. So I don't know if you guys think I'm off base with that, or I just see this, that some of them are like, oh, we got to get him out of there. And I'm just like, I don't know. He's still got a high ceiling, and rushing quarterbacks that can really put it all together are just, that's a luxury.
Yeah, I kind of feel like there are some people who are only going to look at the negative things that he did last year, or maybe even bring up the little situation in Michigan where it was overtime. He just ran the ball straight up the middle, and they're not going to focus on his progressions at all throughout the season. So they already have this mindset that they want to see somebody new, and with Coach DB coming in here now, they automatically have the opinion that okay, somebody else is going to start other than Milroe. I have no problems. I'm with you, Herb. I have no problems with seeing Milroe start. I guess the big question is he going to be able to, show us that he can reach that ceiling and show us that he can make the necessary changes throughout the season to kind of maintain that starting position? Because if not, I mean, I can only imagine Coach DeBoer put somebody else in at some time.
Yeah, I mean, you want the quarterback in there that's going to execute the most consistently. I mean, that's all it comes down to, and I think that's all most fans should want. If that's Milroe, then so be it. If that's somebody else, then so be it.
Right.
I think it did hurt Alabama down the stretch last year that they couldn't really stretch the field. Milroe didn't really see the field very well, especially against some of the better defenses. But that's a young quarterback for you.
Right.
So I think what you're hoping is that he takes that big step from year 1 to year 2, and if he doesn't, then somebody else is going to get an opportunity.
Right. Yep. And that's what I think about how the quarterback room is right now. And I think there's a reason why Simpson and Lonergan stayed this long. I think they know they can push him, but I feel like I'm rooting for Milroe to succeed versus I want him to fail and then the next guy. No, I just want the best person out there. I'm an Alabama fan, so
and if somebody else wants to get that job, there's no way someone can say like they didn't give Milroe a fair shot. He had a fair shot. He still has a fair shot, so to speak. So it's up to him.
Here's a question from Kat about Ryan Williams. Do you think he will get playing time? I don't know that they can keep him off the field, to be honest. I guess there's probably gaining a little weight coming up there, but I would think other than that, it's kind of goes to Raj's point, man. You guys like this and the way his recruitment went, I personally would think we got to get this guy out here because this is I could be gone in a year kind of person if I don't get what I want.
And speaking of weight, what is his size again? I think it was.
I think it's 115, 120.
No, he's not 120.
Raj looked over what?
You have to remember, Williams is a reclassifier, so he's extremely young. I think he's either still 16 or he just turned 17. So there's probably a physical adjustment that may need to be made. But he's Alabama's most talented receiver as soon as he steps on campus, in my opinion.
Where do you think somebody didn't like my? I'm just guessing at his weight, man. I don't know.
It says 6 feet. Says 6 feet 165, but I would assume that maybe 6 feet 170, 170. I don't know. Regardless, he could put on some size.
Definitely, because my shoes weigh 160, so I definitely feel like he needs to put on a little bit more weight.
So do your glasses.
Yeah.
Sorry. I'll just play.
So how do you feel about the Germinator, and what are the chances of this nickname sticking?
It's going to stick, man. There's no doubt. You guys coined it, so it's got to stick.
We got to get some T-shirts made.
I like him a lot. There's not a ton
encourage him.
There's not a ton of video out there on him just because he was stuck behind, 3 really good receivers at Washington, but he looks explosive. I've seen a few videos of him planting some guys on their butts, so it seems like he doesn't mind being physical. So, I'm excited about him. I don't really have, some kind of expectation set for him. I just kind of want to see how he is and what he's got.
Mm-hmm. Running back wise, is this the Justice Haynes breakout year?
I hope so, man. I'm really excited about it. Really excited about it. Liked what I saw in the Michigan game. That was so out of nowhere too. It was like, wow, this guy's playing. We've all been waiting for him to play. I think he needs to be the lead guy. Jam Miller certainly part of that 1-2 punch as well. But Justice Haynes is just so talented. I'll be interested to see I'm interested to see Alabama's run pass split, what it ends up being. Kalen DeBoer historically had a passing offense, but if you look back through his career, when his personnel, was better for running the ball, then he ran the ball. So I'm interested to see what Alabama settles on as far as that goes.
Mm-hmm. And then what about tight end wise? What's how do you think that's shaking out?
Yeah, I mean, you got some different options there. Robbie Outs is still around.
I forgot about him last year. I feel like we didn't see him that much last year.
He started to play more towards the end of the season. I think he did a good job. He offers some, unique things as a blocker. I think he's a true tight end. You can put him on the line and feel comfortable about him handling his blocking assignment. CJ Dupree's got one more year. He showed flashes at times. I feel like if he could have got the ball a little bit more,
agreed.
Maybe we'd be more excited about him. I don't recall the young
because that was a big
name,
pickup when we got him. So
yeah,
it was, and he's super athletic. I don't recall the young man's name, but there's a transfer from Washington that had averaged like something ridiculous, like 80 yards a catch. So yeah,
I think the big question is, I can't think of any. I think the big question is, are they going to get the ball? To your point, and I think that was the issue last year. I mean, when the ball was hiked, Milroe was looking down the field at Burton first, and then if it wasn't Burton, then it was the other guy who's no longer at our program anymore. And then a lot of guys were just underutilized. So hopefully that changes.
Cuevas, yes.
Cuevas. Okay.
Cuevas. I like this already. I'm down with this.
Okay.
Yeah, I've had some margaritas.
So yeah, you gotta feel like this new coaching staff feels pretty strongly about him if they brought him all the way across the country. So Caleb Odom's playing receiver. That's potentially a guy that could play kind of a hybrid role. Sounds like for now they're set on him at receiver, but we'll see. Potentially he could move back to tight end if there's the opportunity's not there at receiver. He's more in the Nye Black role as far as just athlete. He's a little bit bigger than Nye Black, a little taller, but he's kind of that dynamic pass catcher.
But what is he? 6'5", 215. That's a heck of a size for a receiver, though.
I like him at receiver.
Definitely some dimension.
But I've always been a fan of big-bodied receivers. So
there's a big body joke, and I cannot lie in there somewhere, but I'll skip it for this time. So
let's skip it.
Devontae and Skinny Kid made it work. Yup. We have a new word make up. Mark Ingramish.
Is that for Justice Haynes?
I think. Yep.
Okay.
So, new staff will help recruit. Yep. That's what I was most excited for, honestly. I always feel like the defense is going to be, will come along. I'm more excited for the offensive development next year and how that shakes out. So Mike Evanish, who's decided to stay in purgatory at Tampa Bay for a couple more years, but that's for another show. So, all right, overall offensive group. If you had to give a letter grade, what do you give them? This group heading into this year.
I'll just go with a B for now. It may be better than that from a talent perspective, but I just think there's too many unknowns to really give a high grade at this point. We don't know how this new scheme's going to, how the players are going to take to the install. Maybe if you ask me that after the spring game, I can give a better answer. I think the talent's there, but those two tackle spots are huge holes. That's something Alabama. I mean, think about last year. Alabama had one hole on the offensive line, and it was that left tackle, and caused a lot of issues. So now you've got two inexperienced players at both tackle spots. So that's something that's just critical for them to figure out.
Well, and speaking of which, you just verbally contracted yourself to coming back sometime after the spring game, so we can discuss what we saw on the field. So just so you know, our lawyers are already on that. So.
We appreciate you.
Yes.
Yeah, for sure, man. I'm always down to discuss. I'm one of those freaks that sits there and watches all the spring games. So I'm always down to discuss spring football.
So that brings up an interesting one. Besides Alabama, what are 2 or 3 other spring games that you might actually be interested in seeing what's on the field?
Yeah, I'll be watching Georgia's. We know they're loaded. We know they're going to be really good. So I'll be watching them, see what they've got. Especially,
and Randy's assessment is that the offense will be ahead of the defense to start this year. I think that's interesting coming out of Georgia.
Yeah, that will be interesting. They've been mostly a defensive team under Kirby. I know they got Carson Beck coming back. That was a big, win for them to keep him there. He's probably the best quarterback in the SEC, returning. So, they should be high powered on offense. With that September 28th trip to Tuscaloosa looming, I'll probably have my eye on that one. Typically I'll try to watch LSU. I'm interested to see what they look like with, the transition from Jaden Daniels to Nussmeier. I'll probably watch Texas as well, see what they look like. They're probably behind Georgia as far as, expectations coming into the season, returning production. So those are probably the three teams I'll mainly have an eye on.
Well, we know you're not going to be able to watch the Auburn game because it will not be televised.
Why would it be though? Like, I can't think of a single good thing about the Auburn.
I was just trying to throw a nice little jab in there.
Yes, and we're going to throw a haymaker. I wouldn't be surprised if they canceled it altogether, to be honest.
Come on.
No. All right, so what do you mentioned Keeley as far as defense. Give us two other names that maybe you're looking at for a great year, maybe a breakout year, or maybe even one like, hey, this is a person you haven't been talking about to kind of throw out
there. I'll say skill player on offense. I'll go to offense since we've thrown Keeley out at defense. I'll say Odom at wide receiver. I think we all expect Ryan Williams is going to have some kind of contribution. So I think if Odom can contribute, that's a big win to have another freshman contribute in the receiving core. I'm going to say Wilkin Fomby at right tackle.
Okay.
I think he's got huge potential, and it would just be like I said that those tackle positions are critical. So if you can get really solid play from at least one of them, that'd be a great start. So he's a guy. I loved him as a recruit. I think he plays with a mean streak. I think he's going to be somebody that's ready to step in. So I'm really excited to see him. I'm going to be watching him closely in the spring game.
Yep. Kat says she's curious about all the hype. So,
yeah.
And Ricky mentioned as far as the game, Florida. Yeah, I think Napier's getting fired this year. I mean, I don't. I haven't even we haven't done our breakdown game by game yet for Florida, but Napier's getting fired this year. Is how I feel.
This is going to be what his fourth year.
I thought it was third.
Jumped on the gun there. I thought it was fourth, though, for some reason.
Is it?
I have a hard time seeing Napier make it through the year. If you look at Florida's schedule, it's just absolutely brutal.
Yep, he's entering his third season. Yeah, he's been there since 2021, so 21. Yeah. I guess it just feels like but they've been trying to fire him since
for a while
since he got there, basically. So, Odom is wonderful. Yeah. So now now I gotta learn Odom and see all this, because last time you called out Nye Black, that was spot on. So, and I agree with Kat. I don't know. He just decided to coach Florida when it was a huge downturn and they have not recovered. And I don't feel like it maybe accurately reflects on him as a coach, but they're not. The talent isn't there. Maybe the coaching isn't there. They're just in trouble.
But doesn't that have something to do with recruiting as well, especially if you coach in the state of Florida and all your Florida guys are leaving going elsewhere? None of them are coming to the University of Florida.
Yeah.
Doesn't that reflect on the recruiting as well?
If you kind of look at something, the teams that were kind of ahead of the NIL game and kind of on top when NIL came in have kind of stayed on top. There's a certain group in there. You haven't really seen a lot of breakthroughs as far as like, oh, we were terrible when NIL started and we're kind of, Ole Miss maybe but they seem to hit the transfer portal pretty hard, and they've been steadily up. But there's not a lot of teams like that. It just feels like Florida was behind from the beginning, and then they've just stayed behind. So I don't know if you guys have a different assessment, but I don't think they've recovered.
Well, here's the thing with Florida. Florida historically has not been that great a program. As good as you think they should be with the talent they've got in state. They had that run with Steve Spurrier. Zook had some down years, and then they, had the run with Meyer. So, ever since then, it's been just kind of ho-hum. They've had some good seasons here and there under Mullen, McElwain. So I don't think it's as easy a job as people think. There's a lot of competition in state. Florida State is up right now. Mike Norvell's done a really good job there. Georgia is obviously probably the best program in college football. And Tennessee's had a resurgence, recently. So there's a lot of competition, both, in conference and out of conference.
And Randy agrees with you as well, too. So, Well, that's good. That's a lot of football stuff in there. I'll be at 8A game. I don't know how big our little group is, but we'll be there. Definitely interested in seeing. And like I said, we'll touch base with you after the 8A game and after that portal closes for the spring, and we'll kind of see where we're at. So, I think the whole conference has a Georgia problem, but so until I started listening to a couple of Georgia programs, I didn't realize how bad that rivalry was, Georgia, Florida, and how deep the hatred was for Florida.
Because you didn't know that?
I did not know that. I never even, I guess because I've seen when we were here, like Florida had their moments when they were up, right? And now Georgia's up and Florida's way down. So it doesn't even seem like a thing right now. I think if Georgia and Florida met right now, I mean, Georgia's what, a 3-touchdown favorite easily, right? Maybe 4.
I mean, I think the rivalry is still there, but as far as like the trajectory of both programs, like you said, Georgia's near the top, and then Florida's just I have absolutely no idea what
they have no trajectory. Yeah, their car's not working. It's still in the garage, and they're trying to get a mechanic. Yeah. So that's where Florida is right now. So.
Hey, one quick note on the 8A game. I'll be there as well. I encourage all Alabama fans to try to make your way to Tuscaloosa and get out there for that game. I know it's going to be on ESPN. That's great. I hope it doesn't hurt the crowd because I really want us to have a big crowd to, kind of welcome Coach DeBoer to the SEC and show that, there's no complacency in Tuscaloosa.
There you go, dogs. Not beat them back. Yep. I agree, man. I agree. I'm definitely going to be there. So, what's obviously take Georgia out of this. What's one game next year that you would really, really like? This is, hey, if I only get to one game, what game are you trying to get to?
Yeah, I wouldn't mind going to Madison.
Guess who's going?
Y'all going?
Yeah. Well, Herb's
Herb
going.
is.
One of us has twins and can't get out as often as they would like to.
Raj, so we're going to the OU game as well. That just happens to be 3 hours from Arlington, so I'm gonna make that game. But the Wisconsin, I will not be able to make that one.
Yeah, I don't know if I'll make it. I've got it on my list though. Norman would be my second one that I try to make. I went out to Texas a couple of years ago, and that was really cool to go to a stadium that Alabama, at least in my lifetime, had never been to.
Right. Yeah. And that's one reason why I'm going to Madison. I'm like, how often are we going to Wisconsin? So.
Yeah, and we went to the Texas game. Was it 2 seasons ago, Herb? And it was great experience, but it was only about 400 degrees out there, so and we were sitting
and we were sitting next to the sun. We're like literally, we didn't even have to throw our trash away. You threw it into the sun and it burned up. It was the most ridiculous thing I've ever been to.
Speaking of schedule, Alabama's schedule's rough. So just for Bama fans, I think 10-2 is a really, really good season. That'd probably get Alabama in the playoffs. Just remember the landscape's about to change. You don't have to just, go undefeated or, lose one game to make the playoffs. So if we can go 10-2, I think that's a hell of a job with this schedule.
What you're trying to say is, hey, after he loses a game, please don't try to get him fired. Right. And yes, I will I'll look up kid when I get up there for sure.
I mean, yes, that's exactly what I'm saying, because this staff needs support. And if we lose to Georgia on September 28th, and I'm not saying that's going to happen, but if it does, we don't need to hit the panic button.
Exactly.
Yeah, calm down.
I agree.
Let's not forget.
And people act like there's some shame losing to like the number one team. Oh, we lost to Georgia. I'm like,
right.
We're the number one team at that point. Like, I don't even get how you guys think. So
as long as it's a competitive and good game and we lose, I can live with that. And keep in mind, Nick Saban was what 7-6 his first year. Then we went 12-1. Then obviously 14-0. So. To Ben's point,
you don't get that great period.
The Alabama fan base has to be somewhat patient and just give them a chance. I mean,
you act like you've never met an Alabama fan in your life, Raj.
I have. That's why I'm saying this.
I agree.
So
I agree.
Yeah,
we did want to take a quick minute to at least look at Alabama basketball. The job I guess Nate Oates has done this year, and it's like, so the ESPN just came out with an article, and they're like, basically 8 teams can win it all. And on the just misses, the near misses, 20 teams. First team up there, I guess, because alphabetical, is Alabama. I mean, is there like a team out there with like a higher ceiling or higher, like, we can lose first round. We can make a Final Four run. Like with this team, yes, Cat. This team is
Cat. Yes, exactly what Cat said. That's my same.
I mean, you just don't. I don't know if I've seen a team like score 95 points in a game and still get blown out. I mean, that's what not just lost, like not close. You know, I don't get it sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, Alabama's just a team that, like you're saying, is going to have a really high ceiling. They have a really low floor, mainly because they're just so bad defensively. I mean, let's be honest, they're really bad defensively. So it's a lot of it depends on matchups. If they get a draw where they're playing a lot of physical teams that are gonna guard you on the 3-point line and get up in your face and be physical, then I think they're gonna have a tough time. If they have a team that can that wants to run with them, then maybe you feel a little bit better about that. But it's like Kentucky. They're a running team and they can shoot, but they got more stops than Alabama did.
Mike.
Yeah, that's true.
And like to your point, it's like Arkansas wanted to run, and then just seemed like there was like a lot of gaps where we just didn't score. And I'm like, this is a team that's
that Arkansas game was horrible.
I mean, it didn't make any sense, especially given the season Arkansas had.
We were 15-point favorites going into that game, and we won by 4 in overtime.
So yeah. So I mean,
I think that's what you're really fearful of if you're Nate Oates is does this last 5 or 6 games, the way Alabama's have been playing, does that continue into the postseason? There's been some extenuating circumstances there. You lost Latrell Wrightsell for a few games there. He's arguably Alabama's most consistent scorer. I know Sears is going to get his, but Wrightsell's Alabama's best shooter. And he lost Rylan Griffin for these last couple games, so they haven't been at full strength. But still, the perception is Alabama's not playing well, and they aren't. The schedule was backloaded. Somehow you got to find a way to get out of this rut as you enter the postseason.
Agreed.
Speaking of Rylan Griffin, do we know if he'll be available for Friday night's game, or is it too early to tell?
And the people in the comments are having a good time over there. Let me just let me tell you that.
Yeah, I think John Rothstein said he's a basketball guy on Twitter. I think he said he's questionable for Friday.
Okay.
So we'll see. Calf strain could be something that's kind of nagging. So hopefully he can get over that.
Yep.
Yeah.
So you look at the way that you get the double bye. Most likely opponent is Florida, I guess, who you split with this year. Win that and you get a date with Kentucky, and then you win that and you get a date with Tennessee. Most likely, if you go by and Mike says he's heard he won't be back until the NCAA. So, which also might say there's going to be in Alabama in more ways than one. Where do you honestly see the outlook for the team in the SEC tournament?
Yeah, I'm not feeling too great, honestly. I think it's a win if you can get to that.
Be out. We don't want honesty. Lie to me.
Yeah,
I think it's a win if you can get to that Kentucky game. Florida's just a really tough matchup for Alabama with their size inside. Grant Nelson gives you a lot on the offensive end because of how athletic he is. He's usually more athletic than the other center, but he gives up a lot on the defensive end. Alabama's guards are not super athletic on the perimeter, so they get blown by. That leads to easy buckets at the basket or kick out threes.
Yep.
And Florida can do all that. So it's just a
Yeah.
really tough matchup. And then even if you get past them, you're playing the Kentucky team that's red hot and super talented.
Yeah.
So, I like Alabama to look respectable in this SEC tournament, but, we've won the SEC tournament 2 out of the last 3 years. So to be honest, it's probably a bad way to think about it. I've got my eye on the NCAA tournament as more of a priority at this point.
Yeah. So, and Kat said it earlier, right? So the key up. Definitely like to have him back out there. No, but I mean I agree with the assessment of it. Got to beat Florida at least. That would be whoever comes out of that before you get to the Kentucky game. We look. What was it on ESPN? They had 4 writers on there, and they said who was going to win the SEC tournament, and 3 picked Tennessee, 1 picked Kentucky. I still feel like that matchup is your most likely championship matchup.
Yeah.
And if you're Tennessee, your motivation might be, do you get a number 1 seed or not coming out of that?
Yeah.
Well, Tennessee's just a fantastic team. I mean, they've always been a great defensive team, but now you have a reliable scorer and Connect. He's a guy that you can rely on every night, just like Alabama could rely on Brandon Miller last year, because that's always been Tennessee's Achilles heel under Rick Barnes. Is they play great defensively, but their offense is kind of all over the place. Now you can have Zakai Ziegler, Josiah Jordan James, Vescovy, Adu. Those guys can be, supplementary players rather than guys you have to rely on with Connect. So they're a hell of a team. That's another team that's just a terrible matchup for Alabama.
Yeah. Well, that's it.
I didn't realize how good Dalton Connect was until we played them. I heard his name throughout the season, but never really watched too many Tennessee games, to be honest with you. And then I saw what he did to us, and I was just like, okay, this kid, he's the real deal.
All right, we're gonna wrap up. Roger, I didn't know if you had a couple, so we're gonna do a little different. You've been through like 30 questions of death, we're gonna mix it up a little bit. For Roger even called me, he's like, "What even ask him at this point?" I said, "I don't know, man." Yeah, he's heard everything that we got to offer.
He's experienced the gauntlet already, so he's good.
Yes. Yep. So we're gonna ask the first group of questions. I'm gonna ask will either be like a yes or no answer about what you think about Alabama this next season. Okay. And this will be your first question. All right. Milroe will be QB1 all year, yes or no?
Yes.
Ryan Williams will lead the team in receptions and touchdowns.
No.
Oh, the defense will be top 5 in the conference, top 10 in the nation.
No.
Oh, I don't want to ask any more questions.
Oh. So since you said no, where would you say at least top 5 in the conference?
I think they'll be top 5 in the conference, top 15,
but not top 10 in the
maybe
country.
top 20 nationally.
Okay, I think I've recovered. Okay. Percentage chance of making the SEC championship game?
50.
Playoffs?
70.
National championship game?
100. Excuse me. That's a tough one.
I'll say 30. I could bump it up to 40, but I mean it's just with the 12-team playoff, you got to win a lot of games to get there.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the thing. Even if we finish 10-2 and we get one of the lower seeds, then we're still going to have to go through a couple of games just to get to the national championship game. So,
and I'll be honest, I don't know that it's that advantageous to be in the SEC championship game.
It's really not. It's really
not. I said this a few years ago when they first started kicking around this 12-team playoff idea. I was like, what is the point of the SEC championship game now? I mean, I know the conference champion gets that bye, but I don't know. I mean, that's another game that you're most likely going to be playing a team like Georgia. It's another game for your team to get beat up.
Well,
yep.
It's going to lose its lusters for the if you lose the SEC championship game, you're going to think and you're looking at whoever's third in the conference making the playoff anyway. You're going to think I should have skipped that game. So
you should just skip.
And the last question in that group: how many years is DeBoer at Alabama?
That's a tough one because there's so many factors can play into that. Yeah.
6?
Yeah.
I was leaning a little more towards 8 to 10, but like I said, it just depends on what happens these first couple of years, man. I mean, anything. If we win a national championship earlier than later, then that can help out. But if things don't transpire the way we want them to, I mean, the Alabama fan base is going to get really, really critical if they already haven't.
Apoplectic, Raj? Are they going to get apoplectic?
Apoplectic. There you go. That's one of my favorite words. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
Here's my thought on 6. It's not necessarily that he does a poor job. I think he does a really good job. But there's going to be other opportunities potentially for him down the road. And he may not be interested in those opportunities, but we had a conversation earlier about college versus the NFL now.
Yeah.
And that's complete speculation on my part. I'm don't want anybody to think I'm saying that, DeBoer, wants to go to the NFL. That's just speculation on my part.
Yeah.
Kat says she wants to know legacy, but she's rational. Rational Alabama fans have no place on this show. All right, we're Rod, did you have one or you want me to go keep going?
No, you're good. You're
okay.
good.
All right, these are the almosts. All right, work, play, live with the almosts. Okay. Dan Lanning, Mike Norvell, Sark. He wants to go. He never was offered. I know you want to.
Lanning was not offered. Now Sark, I think, could have been offered if they felt like he would have accepted the job, but I think the administration at Alabama knew that was a long shot. So,
right.
I think they kicked the bucket a little bit with Norvell, just as kind of another option if it didn't work out with DeBoer. But I'll say work. Darn, that's hard. I'll say work with Norvell. Seems like a no-nonsense guy for the most part. I'll play with Dan Lanning. He's got an interesting personality. Seems pretty fiery. Seems like he might be a good time.
You're not going to go out with Sark?
I thought you were going to hang out with Sark.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't want to put Sark in that position, man. He's got too many.
Yeah, he's kind of cleaned up his ways.
Yeah, I'll live with Sark. He's been around. Feel like I know him the best.
I feel like if you hang out with Sark, you'd be like, Sark, you want one? No, I'm good. Okay, I'll have one. And then like 2 hours later, he's like passed out on the floor or something. You're like, oh man.
I mean, but he's coaching in Texas, so I have no mercy for him. So
now you're following my line of thinking.
Yes.
That's where I was going with Sark.
We should have never invited Sark anywhere.
Yeah. All right, last question. We get you those tickets to Wisconsin. You get a booth, or the Skybot, whatever they've got there, all the mixes. But you have to take somebody from this list: Herb or Raj.
I knew you were gonna do it. Hey, what I tell y'all last time? You tried to give me a Herb or Raj question.
What was the answer last time? No, I don't.
There was no answer.
Oh my God. Okay, so that means you have to give us an answer this time.
No, you remember what I told you would have to happen for me to answer this question? Alabama wins a natty. I'll answer a Herb.
Oh, come on.
Oh, man. Now just extra incentive to root for it. All right, well, Alabama wins a natty. We're calling you first.
Yes.
You're on the very next show.
The next day. Actually, the next day. Yep.
I would say 0, Mike. Less than 0.
No, that's not going to happen.
Yeah. Sorry.
Let's get Colorado to a bowl game first.
Yeah. Which would, by the way, be a huge accomplishment considering where they've been. So, where can we find you, Bama? What you got going on? What's coming up next?
Yeah, you can follow me on the Bama Beat on Twitter or X. Still can't get used to that.
Never will.
We'll be tweeting about recruiting, spring practice, definitely basketball as this college basketball season finishes up. Maybe Alabama can go on a run. I was heartbroken last year when we went down in the Sweet 16. So it'd be nice to make up for that. So we'll be tweeting on there if you want to give us a follow. We'd love to have you.
Agreed, man. Hope for a good run. Raj, you good, sir?
I am good. Always good show. Always good to have you here, Bama Beat. We greatly appreciate it.
Yes, sir. And he's already contractually obligated for another show, so we locked that down, Raj. Good job. Yes. All right, for Herb and Raj podcast, man, thank everybody for listening. We appreciate all the comments. If we missed it, I apologize. That's totally on me. We will get you next time. Till next week, everyone have a great evening and roll tide.
Roll Tide.